All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome you and thank you so much for joining us for today's Mobile Cause Interactive Workshop on the Ultimate Event Program, How to Keep Guests Engaged and Inspire More Giving. If you're feeling the pressure and maybe some jitters around how to keep your event guests engrossed throughout the festivities and how to handle the ever important big ask, then you are in the right place. During today's workshop, we will discuss some effective insights into creating an event agenda that really motivates donors, in-event engagement tools, plus when, how, and what to say in crafting a confident ask. We would love for you to participate in our discussion today, so please ask us your burning event program questions by submitting them into the questions box on your control panel. We will answer them throughout the webinar and at the end when we have a Q&A session with our experts. We do hope you enjoyed today's workshop, and as a reminder, we will be sending out the recording and slides to all registrants afterwards. Today's webinar is presented by Mobile Cause, a fundraising professional. As a fundraising professional, you do have a million responsibilities and a few resources. Mobile Cause is here to help. Mobile Cause delivers comprehensive end-to-end fundraising software that is easy for you and your donors to use. You receive campaign creation and setup from a fundraising expert along with the industry's best customer support. Mobile Cause believes 100% of donations should go directly to your cause, which is why they don't charge any transaction fees and have the industry's lowest credit card processing fees. Mobile Cause is certified level 1 PC compliant, so all transactions are private and secure. With Mobile Cause, you can raise more with less time and energy. Now let me introduce today's panel of experts. Brent Mason is the Director of Philanthropy for Washington DECA. He is a Tacoma, Washington resident with more than 16 years of fundraising experience. He has garnered a reputation for bringing a fresh vision and perspective while crafting well thought out strategic and tactical plans, rallying teams, stewarding donors, and establishing, enhancing, leading, and maintaining sound operations that take performance to new heights. Brent has served as the manager of individual giving for KBTC Public Television, developer director for King FM 98.1 for Washington Women's Employment and Education, major gifts officer for KNKX Public Radio, and corporate relations manager for the Zoo Society at Point Defiance Zoo and Aquarium. Corey Blake is a digital marketing specialist with Mobile Cause, where he works one-on-one with nonprofits to maximize their fundraising through consulting, strategy, best practices, and crafting communications for mobile, text to donate, and beyond. His work has enabled hundreds of nonprofits to accelerate their fundraising efforts. We do have a captivating, information-packed agenda for you today, where our speakers will cover pre-event program planning, key components of the Ultimate Event Program, the Big Ask, real-world success story with Washington DECA. Okay, before we do dive right into our Ultimate Event Program, we have a quick poll question for everyone. So up on your screen is the poll, and it reads, how do you feel about your ability to create an event program that builds to a compelling ask? And the possible answers are, not sure, I'm more focused on planning the event, I have a few ideas that may work, I've got this, let's rock. So go ahead, we'll leave this poll open for a few seconds, give everybody the opportunity to submit their responses. All right, we're looking fabulous. Let's go ahead and share these results out. Wow, that's so interesting how everyone's feeling about their event program. I can tell this is going to be a fun and enlightening session together. Corey, are you ready to dive in with our event fundraisers?
Yes, thank you, Alki. Yeah, that's good feedback. That's interesting. It's kind of split there. So good. So we're gonna hopefully give you some ideas on how to really kind of shore up your event and make it really inspiring and motivate some gifts. So yeah, let's jump in. First, obviously, we want to look at the programming. So we want to make sure that if our objective is to engage guests, inspire more giving, we want to look at assembling an event from their perspective. So, what experience will you create for attendees is kind of the big question. So, for the majority of organizations, if the attendees don't feel it in their heart, they're not going to give. So this first step here is kind of outlining what these special moments are that will really get their heart in the right place to give. So this comes down to storytelling that consistently builds to your ask. All of the moments you create in your event should tie into your ask to reinforce why to give. So first, we want to look at what are your stories? What constituents will you spotlight? And who will tell those stories? So, whoops, sorry, we're a little ahead. In choosing your story, your speakers, that's going to be who's telling your stories. So, let's see here, choosing your speakers is of course very important. So they are your storytellers. They're your ambassadors. They're going to help your guests stay engaged. There we go. And so this is obviously really important. You want to find somebody who has a strong connection to your organization, whether it be a staff, board member, chairperson. Sometimes people will use local celebrities, like I've seen local newscasters be used for their speakers. But whoever it is, they should be passionate, they should understand your organization, and they should have a real connection to your mission. If there is a speaker whose story that you want to highlight is nervous about speaking, then one way to sort of get around that is to do a video. Video is really compelling, of course. It's a great way to present a story and allows you to have more control over how that story is told. So video is also a good way to tell your story if constituents need to remain anonymous. Some organizations, there's privacy issues. So video is a really good way. If you can show hands, you can use a different name, you can shoot over their shoulder. There's techniques that you can still have their voice and their story without revealing their identity. You want to find the right moment to have a video. Keep them short, compelling, and you want to keep a balance. If you have more than one video, you want to not lose the live immediacy of a live event by having too much video. And of course, practice makes perfect. So once we have all the elements in place, we want to make sure that it all works together. And so this seems obvious, of course, but it cannot be overstated. Run a dress rehearsal, test every aspect, especially if it uses technology, from transitions to videos, lights, music, our fundraising thermometer, which we'll look at a little bit later, timing of the speakers. Resist the urge to skip through certain portions. Have the speakers actually give their speech. It really is important and valuable to make sure that the whole thing kind of comes together and make sure that the venue has the ability to support what you're doing. So next, let's look at the key components of the Ultimate Event Program. Sorry, my slider's being a little stubborn here. So appreciate you bearing with me here. So assuming we put all of these pieces together, what's this going to look like? So first, we'll start with a warm welcome. Of course, we want to ground the audience, set their expectations, set the tone of the event and the night, and assume that at least some of the people in the room, they're meeting you and your organization for the first time, or that they may not be as deeply familiar with your mission as you may think. So intro your mission, intro yourself. Don't just skip into the programming without establishing who you are. Next, you want to demonstrate the impact. So make sure that that's in there. So the ultimate event will demonstrate how giving makes a difference. Sometimes people kind of shy away from this and they want to just entertain the audience. And there's room for that, but you don't want to lose sight of why they're there and how participating is going to make a difference. This also serves as an opportunity to provide an update for your organization. So you may want to update them from how your mission has progressed since they last heard from you or since they were at the last event. What has been accomplished? What are your organization's victories? As always, the more specific you can be, the better. And of course, connect it to your mission. So again, everything should tie into your mission and ultimately what your ask is going to be. And so, what are your needs? What needs are facing your organization now? Present stories and emotional moments throughout your program that build toward your ask. And these stories can be live speakers, videos, as we talked about, combination of the two, and moments. These moments can be performances. So again, like we were talking about entertaining, you can have readings or poems, or letters, a concert of some musical performance. And these can reflect your mission. They can demonstrate how someone has been changed by your organization. But all of these elements, all these pieces, again, they should all tie into why people are there and why your organization is there in a broader sense. And so if all of these elements and these moments that you're creating at this event, they all should be sort of culminating to the big ask. So let's get into that. Making the big ask. So we're going to have a little bit. We're going to have an interactive moment, as Elke mentioned earlier. So have your phone ready. We're gonna actually kind of go through and kind of do a pretend ask in a little bit of a moment here. So get your cell phone ready. But I'm going to turn it over back to Elke for a moment here.
Thanks, Corey. We're going to go ahead and launch another poll up on your screen. So it's, as Corey mentioned, it's time to talk about the big ask. But before we do, let's take a look at this polling question. We'd like to get a better understanding of your comfort level of the ask. So again, on your screen, it's there. The question asks, how do you feel about asking for donations at your fundraising events? Ugh, dread it. So, I wish I had more confidence. Good, but we can always improve. Bring it on. This is what we are here for. So go ahead, get those responses in. We're tallying them up here. Looking great again. So we're going to go ahead and close this out and share those results. So thank you so much for your responses. We can see that this section of our presentation should be helpful to many of you. So Corey, back over to you.
Great. Okay, that's good. That's good. So I'm glad it's not absolutely dreaded. That is a good sign. So yeah, so we'll look at how we can strengthen it, make it even better for most of you. So the crafting the story. So the ask, of course, doesn't happen in a vacuum. So as always, it comes down to storytelling. Ideally, all the elements of your event is sort of passing the baton to this moment now, where you're going to continue on with the story and dovetail into an ask. We sound like a broken record here about storytelling and stories, but stories really are how people understand and can internalize the reason to give. Again, if they don't feel it in their heart, they're not going to do it. So we have a webinar we've done recently on storytelling. I highly recommend checking that out. We also have a live ask script template that we're working on, and we're going to be sending that out in a week. And so I would really recommend checking that out. That's going to be an excellent way for you to just take that template and customize it for your organization and your event and that particular ask. So, so when should the ask happen? So timing is, of course, everything. The ask should happen at the emotional peak of the event. This should be when your mission and your purpose as an organization is most powerfully felt. So no earlier than the middle of the program, I would say. Not too early, not too late. I would say no later than the third quarter of the event, if you can kind of split your event up into quarters like that. This gives you time to build up to the ask, to reach that emotional peak. It gets people a chance to become invested. But it also gives you time after to do follow-up asks and check-ins as you head to the end of your event. So we highly recommend one primary ask. This is really where you drive the room to give at that one moment, emphasize the sense of urgency without undercutting yourself by trying to recreate that same urgency multiple times. So it may seem like we're kind of contradicting ourselves here. Make one primary ask, make more than one ask. But yeah, primary ask is the big moment where you're going to make that big ask. And then there's going to be sort of supplemental asks you can do as check-ins later on. So let's look at the big ask, actually doing it. So don't be shy. Engage with the audience. Cite specific giving levels and how they make a difference. We get here, the slides. Oh, there we go. Very suspenseful slide transitions here to keep you really engaged. So yes, you wanna engage with your audience, interact with them. That's going to draw them in, keep them motivated, and keep them interested. And then the thermometer. We'll go into the next slide here. Looking at the thermometer, you want to sort of use this as part of your ask. And again, we're going to do a little live demonstration here in a moment to kind of show you how these pieces work together. But that live thermometer, that adds an interactive element, really enforces this interactive element. So have your MC, whoever's doing the ask, have them model the behavior. Have them take out their own phone and show how easy it is to text in. And then they can, as you can see this little picture here, then they reveal the thermometer. And this adds a dramatic moment to the event, just one more element that propels the whole thing forward. So you'll want to read names off, thank people, and this adds another level of recognition. So the thermometer, one of the reasons it works so well is it drives people to be recognized. Like they want their name up there, they want to be seen. And then if the person up there is reading names off as well, there's just one more little incentive to be recognized and seen that they're helping towards the larger goal. All right, the next here we have the audience take action. So you've done the demo. Now you want people to text in, remind people that they will be able to complete their gift right then and there, but they can also finish it when they get home. So the sooner they give, you want to make sure they know. The sooner they give, the sooner you and your organization can make a difference. So offline gifts can be added for those that want to still give by check. And for those that want to just give with their card, but they don't want to text, staff can be equipped with iPads or phones, iPhones, mobile devices of any kind that can have swipers, and those can feed right into the thermometer. All right, so let's try this. So you see this little slide here, this demo of a keyword we have. So we've set up a little example here. So let's kind of pretend like we're going to be at an event. So let's pretend you just heard a very moving speech or video. Let's say it spotlighted a woman's story. Her name was Barbara, and how my pretend organization, nonprofit.org, made a difference. So I walk on stage, and the instruction slide here that you see displays, and then I say, what you just heard is exactly why nonprofit.org exists and is here. We couldn't make that happen without you, and this year we're committing to helping 20 more people just like Barbara. Tonight, if we raise $15,000, we will be able to expand our improved program to help 30 more people from last year. So it's really easy. Let me show you how easy it is. See, somebody's already done it. This is fantastic. So I'm going to take out my phone, and I'm going to start a new text message with the number 41444. Teresa just texted in $1,000. Look, see how easy it is. I don't even need to do it. My to line is 41444. the message I am sending, it starts with the word NPO event, all as one word, NPO event. And then I do a space, follow that with a amount I want to give. As you can see, people are giving all kinds of amounts. And then I follow that with my name. And I hit send. And I'm going to be up on the thermometer, just like Karen here, who just gave $100. Teresa, again, $1,000. We've already raised $7,000 just about. We're heading towards 8,000. Lady Gaga, thanks so much for coming here tonight. I appreciate you giving $5,000. However anybody wants to be recognized, we're happy to do that. We're at $10,000. Thank you so much. This is amazing. Every $500 we raise helps one more person in our program. So if you want to give in another way, you certainly can. We have staff people in the back, and they can help you get your name on the thermometer along with everybody else. We did it. We've hit it. Thanks so much, everybody. Well, we're getting close anyway. We passed it. We did pass it. So look at that. We raised $22,000 past our goal. Thank you so much. So that's the idea. You want to keep the momentum going by talking about people, reminding how they text in, reading names off. Susie gave $10. Marcella gave $700. A few anonymous people texting in. That's fantastic. So that's the idea. Is you want to call names out, remind people how they can text in, and if they don't want to text in, you just as an aside, you can go in the back room or you can see your table captain, however you've got that set up. All right, so that's kind of the idea. Once you shift focus away from the ask, texting will almost completely stop. So it's best, like we just did, is to take the thermometer down and move on with your programming, and you'll have an opportunity to bring it back later. So this keeps the thermometer special, helps with the excitement and the enticement of texting in at the moment when you are showing the thermometer. So as you work in offline gifts, you can return to the thermometer later, and you can do a check-in. You can show the progress, do another softer ask. So you also want to involve non-attendees. So obviously there's going to be people who couldn't make it there that night. So a really great way to also get them to be giving and to include them is to do a live streaming of the event. So Facebook Live is great for this. You can have Facebook Live running as a way to let people know that they can support. It also gets them excited. So they'll see all the fun you're having, like, oh, next year I'm definitely going. So it's sort of as another way to promote and advertise your event. And then the big thank you celebration. So again, this is that check-in. So as you saw our thermometer, you saw some animations there with the milestones and the recognition coming up, these achievements, and they highlight specific donors. They celebrate overall progress. So you can bring the thermometer back. So this is, again, leaving enough room in your program so you have a little bit more to show. And so you can bring the thermometer back as a check-in, say, okay, let's see how we're doing. Oh, look, when we last saw it, we had passed our goal. So, now we've hit 25,000, or we've hit twice our goal. That's amazing. You guys have really made a difference. And I can talk more about how good that feels and how much good work we've done. So people should walk away. That's ultimately what we want, is people should walk away feeling victorious, feeling like we did it. We came together as a community and we hit that goal. So I have sort of my own selfish I got recognized. There I was. I made a difference. But collectively as a community, we hit the goal together. So that's kind of the power of that thermometer and this sort of interactive moment of wrapping in the individual and the groups together so that we all feel like, yeah, we made a difference, and now we're going to go forward, and we know exactly how that money is going to be used because of all the storytelling we've done in the beginning. And of course, at the end of the event, you can certainly remind people, say, thanks, this is amazing. We raised today $30,000, and so now our program is going to be twice as big as we even projected it to be originally. And so you're really going to make a difference in this community, or whatever the scenario is. So that's it. Thanks, everybody, for texting in. That was fun. I appreciate you all texting in like that. You probably got a text back, and you can certainly go through that when you're doing that ask, say, to let people know, like, hey, I got a text back. I can click on the link and remind them that they'll get text reminders if they fill it out later. Just to give people, the more you can set their expectation of what is going to happen, the better. So, all right, thanks so much. I will turn it over to Elke and Brent now.
Thank you so much, Corey, for your incredible insight and tools. As a quick reminder, if you do have any questions, you can submit them into the questions box on your control panel as we go along. Now let's turn it over to Brent from Washington DECA to hear some exciting event success stories and more advice and ideas on crafting your ask. Okay, take it away, Brent.
Thank you, Elke. Great job, Corey, and good morning or afternoon to everyone out there. We're going to make sure we do the transition here on the slide control, and we should be. Just bear with us. Whoops. Yeah, that's what we don't want to do. Actually, hold on a minute. We're going to pop back. March. Yeah, this is what they warned us about during our practice round, that we would end up going back and forth if we just arbitrarily started clicking on arrows. So let me do this one more time, get us in line, and we will get this started. All right. There's so much information and so little time to be able to go over everything, but I want to give you a little bit of context as far as how we use MobileCause, how we came about, all that kind of stuff. We utilized MobileCause last year for the first time in preparing for, during, and after our annual fundraising luncheon. And I want to make it clear, and most of you know this already, that there is a big difference between conducting a fundraising breakfast and lunch versus some sort of a dinner auction type of an event. I know that I've always approached a breakfast or a lunch fundraiser as get them in, get them out as soon as possible, whereas a dinner auction, you can take all night long, and probably and as we all know, the more alcohol they drink, the better off your fundraiser is probably going to be. So you really need to be able to take some of those lessons that Corey had pointed out as far as compelling storytelling. Anyway, our luncheon has been around for about 12 to 13 years. Quite frankly, from a development standpoint, that's probably longer than what it should. However, as my executive director and other executive directors over the years have always told me, unless you have some way of replacing that revenue, we're going to continue to keep on doing the event. So that's what we do. We've held it in a variety of different venues, and for the most part, we're holding serve the past couple of years up until last year, meaning that revenue has kind of gone up and down by a couple grand each year. Attendance has kind of gone up and down by 10 or 20 or so. But last year, for a variety of factors, we sort of saw a resurgence, and I do have to give MobileCause a lot of credit for that. Our luncheon looks, feels, smells, and tastes like most luncheon, but the best thing we did was 2 years ago when we began featuring our students, some of whom you see here in the invitation, and last year when we took full advantage of MobileCause. And I will tell you that I had no idea who MobileCause was until I attended another fundraising event and saw it in action. And everything that Corey went over as far as the thermometer, the being the example of how to use your smartphone, etc., they did it beautifully. And to say the least, I was excited about what I saw. Let's see. MobileCause will put together a promotional calendar for you. They like to start about 3 months out. So these 3 slides here, the next three slides, will give you kind of a snapshot of what ours looked like for our luncheon last year. But a couple of things for you to note as you take a look at the calendar. We customized it. Our MobileCause sent it in a PowerPoint format. And while they know quite a bit, that's actually a surprising amount about fundraising, they certainly don't know Washington DECA, and it's doubtful that they know everything there is to know about your particular organization. So the calendar they produce kind of represents a series of best practices as far as maybe how many text messages to send out, how often to post on social media, and so forth. We added and deleted different things kind of based upon our institutional knowledge, beginning back with the March calendar. But we also stayed really flexible to change the calendar based upon what real time required in basically in April and May. So if registration was going slow, we increased the frequency. We also did a raffle, and if tickets were going slow, we increased the frequency. If the raffle was going really well and we sold out, then obviously we would slow things down. So it's important to note, put a calendar together, keep yourself on task, but also don't be a slave to the calendar. Be flexible enough to change, add, delete, and make sure that you do those changes either with the red pen or on your computer, so that you can reference that for the following year. So there's a look at April. I also want to make sure that all of you are aware that Washington DECA internally we handled our social media and the email. It was just a little bit easier to do. Mobile Cause, we had our digital strategist assigned to our campaign, and she was terrific. She did a lot of the heavy lifting on the text messaging. Basically, because it was a new concept for us, it was definitely a new concept for me. She would write the copy. She vetted the phone numbers in our database. There's a system that they can run phone numbers through that will indicate which ones are mobile numbers, which ones are landlines. And she scheduled the launch of each of the text messages. So it was extremely, extremely helpful. We're a small shop, and to be able to have someone that was willing to do that, it was like having another staff person without actually having that staff person on site. Okay, we're into May. I will also, one thing too that I didn't mention on the previous slide is that Mobile Cause also developed our event giving pages. So we had a giving page for both the lunch as well as our raffle. And ultimately they don't want to be holding, I'll say, our hand all throughout whatever number of years we used the platform. And so they want you to learn it, but at the same time they recognize that we've got a lot on our plate, and they will literally hold your hand and help set up these pages. And then maybe during the off season, if you will, or after the lunch, or sometime during the summer, you can go back and customize it and play around with it a little bit more when you don't feel like you have the pressure of getting it taken care of. If you will note, on May 23rd, that was our game day. And I think Corey had mentioned a swiper. We used the swipe for a wine wall that we have at our luncheon. It worked out great. We actually only had one, but it was enough. It was enough to be able to handle 100 bottles of wine going out through this wine wall feature. Very handy, very convenient. I'm always a little bit leery of technology because you never know if it's not going to work at a venue that's not your office. But we were able to test it out in advance. I think we even tested it right up to the last minute, and everything was great. We also used text to give for the ask, but we also had pledge cards. I'm a firm believer that even though things may be decades old as far as techniques and strategies, it's always, people have different ways of giving, as you all probably know. Many will probably embrace the text opportunity, but you want to have that piece of paper that some people just love to use, because in many cases they want to be able to take it home, they want to be able to write the check, they want to be able to have the thrill of putting that stamp on the envelope and putting it in the mailbox. So the text to give is definitely, as you'll see some stats here at the end, is the way to go. But don't forget to have that hard copy pledge form. We sent text messages to our donor base list minus the attendees with a link to give. So almost immediately after the luncheon was over, we were able to cull that list down and be able to send out a text message basically saying, hey, sorry we missed you, here's an opportunity to give. We also sent out an email with a video of our student speaker that we were able to embed in the email and provide the link to be able to give. I can't stress it enough, and again, I'm probably preaching to the choir. I can't stress it enough to be able to take advantage of you're hot that day or that night or that morning or even maybe within the next 24 hours. You're still top of mind for many of these people, so take advantage of it. I won't deny it. When you're texting or emailing somebody that didn't attend, that guilt piece definitely comes into play, especially when you can provide them a visual of maybe what they missed or an inspirational message that was said. So do not be hesitant to do the follow-up. In addition, you can't thank your donors enough. So you're kind of doing a parallel track of communication. You are getting those folks that didn't attend, and you're also in the process thanking those folks that did. Now, if you're using the text and email piece, they're going to be getting automatic messages back, but it's not a bad idea. You can never thank a donor enough. So even if you wait until the next day where there's a little bit of separation between the mobile cause thank yous and one that you might want to send out, maybe from your executive director, or maybe from a key volunteer or a board chair or from a student in our particular case. So don't forget to do the thank you part. You can never thank him enough, even if it's by accident. Stuff happens, and if you happen to send out 2 or 3 or 4, it's not a bad thing. It's not going to be the end of the world. Let's see. Okay. We don't want to go to part 2 until we deal with part 1. I want to kind of, well, 2 things, and this is my fault, but in our order of things, the video ask should be in front of the verbal ask, and again, that's my fault. I apologize for that, but just make note of that. And I also want to put in there in regards to that verbal ask, however, is that not everybody is cut out to making an ask. Not all. I have found that not all executive directors are born to be fundraisers. Not all development directors are born to be fundraisers. It's hard. It can be hard to make an ask. You've got to be willing to accept rejection probably 7 or 8 times out of 10. I kind of look at it as baseball. If you can get 3 hits out of 10, you're probably a Hall of Famer. But not everybody's cut out to do it. So make sure that you choose wisely. Make sure that you choose somebody that has a compelling story. Make sure you choose somebody that has been touched by your organization. But it's an important piece. Everything at your event could go to heck in a handbasket. But if you've got somebody that has a compelling message and has some juice when they're up there on stage, you can still hit your goals, because everything else, in my opinion, is just a fluff. It's that ask that's going to make or break you. The video, I kind of have this saying that a video helps you avoid the Charlie Brown teacher disease. If we can think back to when we watched the Charlie Brown deals on TV and it's the wah, 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 well, a video helps kind of break that up. And I highly recommend being able to pop a short video that'll kind of help set up your in-person ask. Let's see here. We're almost done. The big ask, part 2. Corey kind of went over this in terms of the thermometer, but I want to be able to provide you with suggestions for a couple of other things. We also created a table tent to put at all of the tables. So we have this ask going up on stage. We did utilize the thermometer, and so you've got this thermometer with the funds going in. The asker, the human asker, has already kind of gone through the process. We've actually put this table tent at each place setting, at each table, and we also have it outlined in our event program. And there you go. And then we get to the end, because I think I'm probably going on way too long. You can see that last year's luncheon compared to previous years, we raised 9% more. Overall number of gifts up 28%. Pre and post event giving up 88%. Number of day of gifts 22%. 72% of all the gifts at the luncheon were new donors, which is fantastic for us. I'm sure it would be for you as well. And the number of new donors was up 49% over the previous year. Learnings and recommendations. Pre-event giving made little impact on the overall giving, and what I mean from that is that I was very concerned that a heavy push pre-lunch would impact our numbers. In other words, sort of that borrow from Peter to pay Paul type of thing, but it didn't. The overall numbers shifted around a little bit between pre, during, and post, but as you saw from the previous slide, our giving in terms of the number of gifts and the number of dollars were substantial increases from the previous year. So don't freak out about your pre-lunch stuff. It's always nice to have that money in the bank as you're going into your event. The majority of gifts made via text to donate, only 12 gifts made via the hard copy pledge form. I was thrilled that we had the hard copies for those 12 people, but the number of texting was fantastic. And I checked with a variety of different people at the end. I had one person who's a vendor of ours, came up and said, "I hate the text to giving thing. I just hate it." So I was like, oh no. But then I went around and I talked to board members. I talked to, I'd say dozens of people that had attended the luncheon either that day or the day after or the weeks after and said, "How did you like the text to give?" Loved it. And so don't be afraid by the one person. That one person does not speak for the 99% of the others who love the text to give piece. I think what that does, though, is it just backs up what I said before. People like to give in different ways. That person who complained about the text to give probably should have had a hard copy pledge form and dropped it in the mail, because everybody else seemed to like it just fine. So there were a variety of learnings and recommendations, but those were just some of the ones that kind of came to me top of mind. So thank you. And Elke, back to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Brent, for sharing such valuable information with us today. We do hope you're all super excited to work on your event programs and big asks so you can have fully engaged guests who are inspired to give. Now, before we do jump into the Q&A, let's take another quick poll. So last poll for today, it's up on your screen. Do you like what you heard? Would you like more information about, and you can check all that apply here. So Mobile Cause Event Work Software, other Mobile Cause fundraising software features, Mobile Cause expert fundraising support. So take a minute to review that, check all that apply, submit your answers, and then we'll move on to our Q&A. Awesome. Just a few more seconds here. Responses are still coming in. All right. So let's go ahead and move into our Q&A, and let's answer some of those questions that you've sent in. Feel free to submit any others as we do go along. So let's see. Our first question is for Corey. What is the service or transaction fee that Mobile Cause collects for donations given through text, for instance?
There's no fee. There's an annual subscription that you sign up for the service, but that is just a flat for the whole year. But for donations, if I were at your event, I texted in my gift, 100% of it goes to the organization. Now there's a credit card transaction fee, which isn't our fee, that's the credit card company's. And that's we've negotiated very low rates depending on the plan, basically in what sort of merchant service provider you use. But Mobile Cause itself does not take a fee from that.
Okay, could I follow up on Corey's comment?
Absolutely.
Corey's absolutely right, but I will also add in there too that we have it set up on all of both our regular giving site as well as for the luncheon, the opportunity for donors to pay that credit card transaction fee. And I will tell you, without pulling the numbers, that I would say that conservatively, probably 90% of our donors will gladly accept paying that transaction fee. So just a heads up, not to be freaked out by what that might cost you.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's a
Thank
great
you
point.
both. Awesome. So another question for Corey. What is the recommended length for a video?
I would say, to kind of echo Brent, on the short side, and it is good. I like how he sort of has it stacked up from video to the live presenter to the ask. That's great. I would say probably less than 5 minutes. You don't want a feature length film. As Brent said, like you want it to break up the sort of tone and energy of the night. So you don't want it so long so that you need to then break up the energy from the video. So I would say less than 5 minutes.
Perfect. Thanks. And we have another question for you, Corey. This one asks, we have a convention with a big event on the last night. We, the foundation, share the event with our fraternities, so there is a lot of programming geared toward awards and such. Any suggestions on how to work an ask in?
Well, you definitely, yeah, it can be tricky when you are not the host organization, and when people are attending something that may be, not all about your organization. So the trick is that you really do. I mean, that is when storytelling, as much as I sort of harped on it, you have to get your story out there. And so wherever you can find that spot, whether it's that final night, maybe if it's a conference that's lasting a few days, maybe it's before then. But anything you can do to sort of fight for some time to really position yourself. Another approach I sometimes recommend is that if you just don't feel confident that people are going to really sort of get it, there is the strategy of just getting people to opt in to learn more, and then through text messaging and other storytelling, you work up to an ask later. So maybe you say, hey, this is what our organization's about. If you'd like to learn more, text whatever to, and it's not a text to donate number, it's a different number. That just gets them opted in. And then you can send them texts, you can send them video, you can send them other things, driving them to an ask later. That might be the better approach there.
All right, give me a second. We have a lot of questions coming in here, so let me take a look here to sift through them. So here's another question that's come in. Can we easily upload our donor database into Mobile Cause? And I think that one would go to you, Corey.
Yeah, probably. Yes, you can. All it needs is a CSV file. So yes, any phone numbers that you have, you can upload them into your system, and then that's going to be a list. You can pre-segment them if you want. So you can go based on last year's donors, volunteers, however you want to segment them, and you break that up as a CSV file for each, and then upload them into your system. That would be a separate list now in your account that you could then choose when you're sending out text messages.
Perfect, thanks. And Brent, we have a question for you. How big was your staff and how many people were involved in planning your event?
We have 4 full-time staff and 1 contract staff, so very small. So all of you out there that are part of small organizations and saying that you can't, this doesn't help, this can't work, it's too much work, not the case. In fact, it's actually designed to be very effective for and allow us smaller organizations to do more with less. So there was a pretty small group of people, and that same number of people were involved in the planning. So if you've got bigger than that, my hat's off to you. That means you should be able to do an even bigger bang-up job.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I do see a lot of questions coming in, but it looks like we're out of time for today. So if you did submit a question that wasn't answered, please feel free to email marketing@mobilecause.com. And if you're interested in discovering how to accelerate your fundraising and raise more funds with less time and effort, please do fill out our post-webinar survey or visit www.mobilecause.com. We do look forward to seeing you again next month at our webinar on becoming a digital fundraising rockstar using social media. Have a wonderful day, everyone.